Hello everyone, welcome to Parishad. My name is Sashi. This is a podcast dedicated to independent filmmakers from around the country and to conversations related to independent filmmaking. Today's episode is a very special one for me. I am being joined by my childhood friend Harshajit Goyary. We used to study in the same school. He was very good in football. We never called it soccer, it's football for us. And he was also very kind enough to let me play with him, but I was never good at it. So then we were not in touch after middle school much. And again, in 11th and 12th, we ended up pursuing the same college. So the place where we grew up, the city called Guwahati, we have the system there that you can pursue 11th and 12th from colleges. So, but it was not very common for everyone to pursue the 11th and 12th, that is plus 2 from college, because we were in a CBSE school and the college was affiliated to the state board. But we too ended up doing it. And one day in a certain class, I saw this guy and I was like, is he the same guy whom I used to know very closely in middle school? And I ended up asking him, are you the same guy? And he told me, of course I am. And it was very strange and very surprising for me. And then again, we passed out and there was no contact again. And I don't know what he did after that. And then after many years, just like 2 months back, I was browsing through my Instagram, and because I follow the filmmaker Rima, I was going through one of her stories and I see this guy in that story. He was having a good moment with Rima, crossing a stream or that kind of a place, and he was having a boom mic with him. And again, I was confused if this is the same guy. And after some thought, I ended up messaging him on Facebook and asking him if you are the same guy, because you look like this person in this picture looks like you. And he told me, yes, this is me. And I ended up learning that he went to FTII later and pursued a course. He worked in so many films. He's worked in 5 films till now. 2 of them have been directed by Rima, and all of his films are going to release very soon. None of them have released yet, as of yet, and he's waiting for a grand release of all of his work together. And today I'm so proud of him, and this is such a special and happy moment for me that today I'm doing this podcast with him. Like so many years back, we used to be kids in school and had no idea of the fact that we would end up being in this industry together. So welcome, Harsha. How are you? What's up?
Yeah, I'm totally fine. So, what about you?
I'm also good. Currently in Mumbai, working on different
Okay.
things. What's
Mm-hmm.
up? How's life in Guwahati? And what are you doing?
Now it's pretty much normal right here. So I have been traveling for last 2 months. So I wasn't so in touch with Guwahati. So I just came back 3 days ago from Shillong. I was shooting there for a documentary. So
Oh, amazing.
I was shooting a documentary there. So it's about Puri. So it's
Puri, the
you'll get
place.
to know. Yeah, Puri is like what you call a small concept based on Meghalaya's folk tales. So
Oh, okay.
I'm working as a sound recordist there. So it just got over. The first schedule got over. So I'll be working on the second schedule from November. So I came back Guwahati last 2 days ago, and it was quite normal. So
Oh,
even the
that's amazing.
situation of the COVID situation is totally normal right now. So people are finally going out and meeting
Yeah.
friends. So usually I miss you too. You should be here soon.
Yeah. Once I'm there, I'm going to meet you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, sure.
So, tell me, like, how did you end up joining the filmmaking line? Like, we never had a conversation about it. Of course, that's must have been surprising for you also that I ended up
Yeah,
taking this path. Tell
it's
me about your journey.
It's pretty surprising for me too, actually. So I was doing engineering in Nehu. So while pursuing my engineering degree, like you are also an engineer, so you must be familiar with like engineers go through different experiments, right? So while going through different experiments, just thought about myself, like why don't I experiment about my own life? So I just started to think about myself, what I actually want to do while pursuing my engineering, whether it's my right kind of job. So I just continued to think about it. And suddenly one day, a friend of mine just introduced me to camera. So I was quite intimidated with lenses and all. So I got to learn many things from him. So finally, I got the interest into filmmaking through this special friend of mine, and like we both started discussing about different films, different uh, music stuffs, other than engineering, other than the core subject which we had to discuss about. So we were pretty much out of our topic of academics. So I just started doing that, and then I finally got to know like there's a campus called FTII, which is basically for filmmaking. So I just Googled it and research about it, and then I finally got to know. And then I just thought, why don't I try for it? So on 2018, yeah, it's on 2018 March. So I tried after doing my first year of MTech. I just thought of myself like, why don't I just try for an entrance? And then I just wrote my entrance, and finally I got selected. Actually, I got selected. It was pretty much surprising that actually people wanted to know my story, because I actually was very genuine with my story. So I just wrote about it in my entrance exam. So people, I think the selectors or the jury pretty much liked it. So I just got through it through my interview too. So and that's how I got in. So I was pretty much interested in music too. So that drew me to sound designing. So basically I got uh, interested through it. And actually my mother is also an AIR artist, so All India Radio and Television artist. So yeah, so kind of I got to learn a lot from her too during my childhood days. So it was pretty much in me, but I didn't experiment it much. But later on, I realized like, why don't I bring out my own regional industry into Indian cinema? Like I was pretty interested to tell our story, especially from Assam. Like we are a diversity, right? So we are a diverse culture, tradition, and we have a diverse ethics. So this kind of drew me into filmmaking. So that's how my journey came through.
That's fabulous. Like I'm so I can't explain it to you right now. I'm feeling so enthralled with this conversation, and
Mhm.
it's amazing to know your background and your story, which we actually never talked about before. It's amazing. Like it's a very different feeling. But tell me about your life in FTII. How was it, and how did the pandemic affect it?
Okay, so like I was there in 2018, so pretty much it was the first year, so it was very new to me. The campus was very new to me. The people were very new to me. So, but I kind of was very interested to know new people from new places. So I wanted to know about their culture. I was very pretty much interested to know about their tradition. How do they live in their place? What do they eat? What language do they speak? So I got many friends from different states. So they were pretty much close to me. So they had their own stories to tell. So I was pretty much involved in it. I got pretty much involved in it. Actually, within a span of 3 4 months, I got involved. So like that's how we discussed about different forms of art, different films. About we discussed about the critics that was bought into it, like the sensation of films, so etc. So after that, we did different projects together. so different college projects. So we have, I completed 3 projects in FTII. So I have 3 more left to complete. So because of the pandemic last year, it got affected very pretty badly, and till now it's still on hold. So I guess it might reopen by next January, by next year, by 2022. So I'm hoping for the best to reopen because I pretty much miss my campus. I pretty much miss my own people there. So I miss my campus, actually, my home, my second home.
Yeah, I was talking to a director I was working with recently who's from FTII, and I was telling her that there's a friend of mine who's studying in FTII, but because of the pandemic now he's at home and he's not able to be in campus. And she was like, "Oh my God, I can understand what he must be missing out on right now, the campus life and all." So I kind of get it. So tell me, like when you went to FTI, like what were the films you were exposed to, and after when you went to FTI, you must have like they must be showing their films from world cinema. How was that experience, that exposure?
Okay. First of all, like since I was new to it, it was pretty much out of my league. So we were pretty much into Bollywood movies during our childhood days. So it was very new to me. So kind of I felt surprised, like, okay, this kind of film really exists, and this kind of reality of the world, it existed, actually existed. So that's how I got introduced to world cinema. So like especially like filmmakers like Asgard, like Ozu. I didn't know about them. Like Satyajit Ray, even Satyajit Ray, I wasn't much into it. So like after going to FTI, I got also got to know about Indian cinema. Okay, this kind of film also existed in India too. So I got introduced to many good filmmakers, many good technicians and all. So it was a pretty hot topic for me to, and I was pretty much interested to share my experiences along to my friends aren't even who aren't into films. So it's very different for them to write to know. So they used to ask me, like, you were an engineer, so you could have done some normal government jobs and all. Why are you into films? So like that's where the magic lies. I used to tell them that's where the magic lies. You should go out, think out of the box. Always think out of the box. That's what I think about, and that experience got me into cinema actually.
Totally.
So yeah.
Now, does it happen that when you watch a film with a friend who is not in this line, do you end up like explaining what it should be like? And does the critic inside you play out when you
Yeah.
watch a film?
Sometimes it plays because like there are many friends who doesn't know the ethics of films, so they don't have much idea about it. So many people watch it for entertainment. Many people don't think to that deep. So like when it comes to films, I go deep personally. So I used to watch over and over again. I used to analyze it. So people, my friends used to ask me like, okay, why are you seeing this movie again and again? It's boring, right? It's boring to watch
Yeah,
again and again. It's very much boring. So I used to tell them, see, a filmmaker makes a lot of effort to bring out this kind of art form. Every filmmaker has an effort to it. So why not I just analyze it thoroughly and watch it again and again to know more about him, to experience more about the film. So I used to just explain them to that, and like they through that, like they used to just judge me along, like like you're maybe you're thinking too much, maybe you're showing it too much because you're a filmmaker. So but that's not the case actually. So it's my kind of paying tribute and respect to every filmmaker in the world. So
I, yeah, I understand that happens. Like, yeah, I think that innocent fan boy who we were before, like before we got kind of actually adulterated by world cinema, that fanboy has died now. Like We are a different kind of fanboy right now.
Yes.
We try to analyze it also. We would criticize and critique it also. We would like hate if there is a certain kind of a shot which we don't like, or maybe we think it could have been done better. And that's what other people wouldn't like. People who are not in this line and are watching a film with us, they wouldn't like that. But yes, so tell me about the course that you are pursuing in FTI. Like, what exactly is sound designing and recording? How is it done?
Okay. So, like, basically, in sound, when we call it sound, people think like it's just something which doesn't have an essence to a film, but actually, it has a lot of essence. So, it plays a very important role. So, sound basically has different departments. So, it's a very big department, I would say. So, it's a broad department. So, like, starting off with sound recording. So what do we do nowadays? Like before, we used to dub dialogues and all dialogues after the shoot, right? So nowadays, what we do in sound recording is like we go to a location, we take our equipments along, like the mic and a recorder, and then we record it in the location itself. So what it does is like it saves our time and energy to dub again in the post, and also for the actors it becomes easy for them to bring out the art on location itself. So they don't have to bring out an extra energy in the studio to dub a dialogue or something. So that's how we work in sound. That's how we work in sound recording. So whatever isn't captured, we do it in the post later in dubbing and all. But I usually pay heed to sound recording in location itself. So it's a very important part of me. So like other than after that, we have our post production. Post production consists of dialogue editing, effects editing, sound designing, mixing, and mastering. So, like, what do we do in dialogue editing? We edit all the dialogues from the edit point of view. Like, we correct it, we correct the tone, we bring out the perspective of it. And that's how we do the dialogue editing, basically, in short. So, like, this is how the dialogue editing is done. And then comes the effects editing. Like, we edit the effects and all, like the slamming of door, like the footsteps, and etc. So that's how we do the effects editing. And then comes the sound designing. So it's a very important part again. So in sound designing, what it does, like it brings out the essence of the film. It brings out the actual art form, which we, without which we won't feel it in theaters and all. Suppose you just imagine a film without the sound. So, okay, it works. Sometimes it works. But what if the sound is added to the film? So you will be able to feel the essence, right? By hearing it, by hearing itself. If you hear a voiceover, how do you feel if it's effective? So that's how we do the designing part. We make a design, we make a graph, we make a, just like we make a character arc for an actor. It's the same thing with what we do in sound technically. So that's what we play with the film. That's how we play with the narrative in sound designing. So after that comes the mixing, the leveling ups and downs. So after that comes the mastering at last.
So, what is mastering?
Okay, so in mastering, like basically, like if you play something in a, suppose I would say in simple words, suppose you play a sound in the movie theater. So in theater, what do we do? Like we have a Dolby Atmos, we have a 5.1 sound. So in mastering, basically, we see the level of sound that should come up, that should come down, the dynamics of the sound, basically.
Okay. Hmm.
So we check the dynamics of the sound in mastering. So that's what we do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this was very helpful, and I'm sure many people who might have been listening to this should
Yeah.
find this very useful. And
Mhm.
I would like to share some things, some thoughts I have around sound designing, which is lately I've started understanding that it is the sound design which actually I think weaves the film into one complete identity, because visuals will keep cutting from this that. Of course, sound also cuts, but like I was watching this film called Our Separation by
Okay.
Asghar Farhadi, and then
Uh,
like I was watching it for the third time only for the sound, just to understand
uh,
how the sound was designed for that film, and I understood a lot of things. Like usually, what would happen is like a scene would end with a door slamming,
hmm.
so and that sound would a door would slam, and then we cut to a busy street. So
Yeah,
it makes very
basically
it's
transition.
very
Yeah.
so yeah, it's a very organic transition, and I understood that, oh, so this scene that actor has to slam the door only because we need a cut. So the sound is deciding how the actor should act in that scene and how where the director has to cut it, and it's amazing. Like, and there are a lot of other observations I made. Like maybe what he usually does is that the sound of the next scene would like kind of fuse with the sound of the previous scene. There's a gradual fade in already happening in the next scenes before the next scene starts. These are some observation I made. Correct me if I'm wrong. Then
Yeah.
yeah, that's how I realized that sound is a very important factor. We usually talk about the visuals and shot taking and angles and lenses, but
Hmm.
sound is quite important.
Yeah,
So
it's equal to the lenses that we talk about. It's equal to camera, basically. I would say I would take it 50-50.
of course, it's 50-50. It's a visual and audio based medium, so both have
Yep.
to play together. Tell me about the equipments you usually use and what kind of recordings are done. Like, suppose let's take the example because you shoot in Assam and Meghalaya. You have shot
Mm.
there a lot, and the picture I saw your picture with Rima Das. Like, suppose that's the location, like a film
Mm.
like Village Rock Stars, and where there is a stream flowing and two characters are talking. So, what are the things you're going to record there? Like, are you going to
Uh,
record the hustle, the leaves and the trees also, the wind striking the leaves and the trees, the water,
okay.
yeah, tell me.
Okay. So, like, if it's a location, suppose, where there's a flood, and then you have two characters talking above the water.
Yeah.
So, like, there's a boat there. For example, I'll just place a boat there, and there's two characters sitting on the boat and discussing about something. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, what I do is, like, I place a lapel mic to both the
Mm-hmm.
characters for
Okay.
a closer reference, and then I
As
place
in the
two
lapel
boom
mic
mics
is attached to them.
to their body. Yeah.
Okay, what if they have to do away with that if they are not wearing any clothes or something like that?
Okay. If they aren't wearing any clothes, then that's a very important question. So, like, I'll have to take a wild take, either a
Hmm.
wild take or I'll take it with a boom.
Hmm.
So, if it's a very wide shot,
Hmm.
then it's pretty much easy to take a wild take and we can play with the sync later. So we
Okay.
take the wild take on the location itself, then the actor doesn't have to go again to the studio and dub.
Hmm.
So, and if it's a close shot and you don't have clothes there, then
Yeah.
what we do, if it's a close shot, there will be someone holding a mic near near the character so that it doesn't appear on the camera.
Okay.
So that's how
Hmm.
we place it. Or we can place it somewhere. We'll find a place where the frame isn't there. So we'll just place a mic there and we'll play with the sensitivity of the sound. We'll just increase the sensitivity of the transmitter of the lapel, and
Hmm.
then we'll record the sound. And there's always a boom there. The boom is very important because lapel doesn't play an important role if there aren't any clothes. So
Hmm.
lapel is just for a reference and also for if for example the boom mic doesn't work, then lapel plays an important role there. So I pay heed to boom mics. So why boom mics? Because, like, when you place a boom mic there, you get the ambiences along with the dialogue.
Hmm.
So, like, the ambiences around you, like, it also
Hmm.
plays an important part with the dialogue. So if it depends on the mood, suppose it's a sunny day and there's a
Hmm.
birds chirping and you're happy and the character is talking about something happy.
Hmm.
If the character is happy, then I would capture the ambiences along. So, like, that's how the essence of that narrative comes up.
Hmm.
So,
Very true.
and if it's a night scene, then along with the dialogue, I get the cricket ambiences. So that's how the boom mic becomes important for me because it captures the ambiences around you.
Mm-hmm.
So
What,
that's how
what
it
are
works.
okay? And what are your thoughts on the Zoom recorder? Does it play a good role in the filmmaking
Okay, so
process?
like there's a thing called signal to noise ratio. So where a recorder captures more signal and then releases less noise. So we look into that technicalities. So according to that, we use a recorder. So for me, if I use a recorder, I would prefer a sound devices rather than Zoom. So the signal to noise ratio of sound devices is better than Zoom recorder. So for me, in location sound, I would always use a Zoom recorder and also a mixer if I get it. So the mixer, what it does is it cancels out all the noises. So I would use a mixer along with the not Zoom, sorry, sound devices recorder.
Okay. Suppose someone wants to make an indie film with the lowest possible budget, then
Okay.
what would you suggest for sound like recording devices? What are
Hmm.
enough?
So for equipments, actually, I don't compensate, but I always go with the best possible way because I
Hmm.
always tell them like if you're using a good camera, even if you have a low budget, but you're
Hmm.
using a Sony camera, Sony 8 A7S3, you're using a
Okay.
high quality camera. Why do you need to compensate on sound then? Why do
Hmm.
you need to use a Chinese product,
Hmm.
cheap product, if you're using a very good quality camera? So
Hmm.
that's how I always tell my director or the producer. So
Okay.
like, but the possible way of recording, if it's a documentary, I would go with 8.6 because
Hmm.
basically like 8.6 is good for ambiences and all. So for
Hmm.
rough use, because we go to different locations and all, so we don't know about the weather, we don't know about the temperature. So I would go with 8.6 if it's a documentary. Or and if it's a feature, I won't go less than Zoom F8N
Hmm.
or sound devices mix pre.
Okay. Cool. Now, tell me about the films that you have shot. Sorry, you have recorded for, and what subject matters are they based on, and when are they releasing? Tell me something about them.
Okay, so about the dates of releasing, I'm not so sure about it, but I am still working on it. So like I've completed one film with Rima. So the final name hasn't been decided yet. It's a family drama basically, and the another one is Village Rockstar. So which will part two of Village Rockstar. So it's still going on. The shoot is still going on. So I think it will continue for next 2-3 months more. So in now we have a break here. So I'm working for another film in Arunachal Pradesh. It's based on some folktale and some mystery of Arunachal Pradesh. So the title of the film is Sangi Ghai.
Okay,
So
what's the meaning?
meaning is like a treasure, a kind of treasure.
Okay.
Yeah. So like you have seen this mysterious island and all, no?
Uh-huh.
Pirates of the Caribbean. So
Yeah.
for example, yeah, it's
Yeah.
similar to that. The storyline is different, but the kind of like the idea which you will get it. So I'm just not comparing it, but you'll get an
Mm-hmm.
idea about it. To get
Sure.
an idea,
Sure.
I just give you an example.
Sure.
So like I'll be shooting this one from September 19. The shoot will start from September 19, and it's going to be shot over for 1 month.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
and like I've done this documentary which I've told you earlier
Puri.
in of Puri. The title is
Puri.
Puri.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's over. I have shot in different locations over Meghalaya. So
Okay.
in East Khasi Hills, basically. So
Yeah.
it's not completed yet. The second schedule will start in November or December.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So this is another one. And then I've shot one documentary for a social activist called Malini Jivantapuram. So she's from Chennai.
Okay.
So she shot documentary of LGBT community. So I just completed it in last year and it's still not released yet. So I'm expecting to release, I guess, somewhere near in future. So
You're going to have a lot of releases together, and I'm sure it's going to be great. Like, do call me for screenings, or don't
yeah,
forget
sure,
me.
sure. I'll
Sure.
call you for sure.
Tell me about the family drama, because what kind of what's the tone of the film? Are we going to see something different coming from Rimadas, or is it in a similar space like Village Rockstars and Bulbul Can Sing?
Yeah, from my experience, like it's gonna be a bit different from what
Hmm.
she is into. Like she's into basically she's into nature, right?
Yeah.
So in Village Rockstar, in Bulbul Can Sing, she was into nature
Mm-hmm.
and like what humans play with nature, how humans play with nature, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So this drama, the the art form which she brought in is a bit typical, which we can relate it to our typical lives.
Hmm.
So the normal routine that
Very
we do every
contemporary
day.
drama.
Yeah,
Is it a city-based story this
yeah,
time?
it's a city-based story. Basically,
Oh,
it's a
amazing.
city-based story.
Mm-hmm.
So the style of work is different from Village Rockstar. So
Okay.
it's gonna be interesting to watch. So
But so like, is there a documentary kind of approach still there, like in this film also? Like,
yeah, like her style of working is a bit documentary, right?
yeah.
Documentary based
Uh-huh.
docufiction. So like, yeah,
Yeah.
she kept her style, I guess. So because
Mm-hmm.
she likes her style,
Hmm.
so she worked. Actually, she continued in that way. So kind of she kept her style.
Okay. That's nice. That's nice.
Hmm.
Tell me, you wanted to say something, right? I interrupted in between. Would you like to
Okay.
complete that?
No, I've just completed. It's okay. You can continue.
Sure, sure. Tell me more about the indie scene in Assam and Northeast where you're working right now. What is it like, and how enthusiastic people are, and what are their vision with indie cinema?
Okay. So like lot of audiences, from what I've heard, are pretty much positive. So like I've got positive gestures, positive thoughts from many non-filmmakers, like the audiences basically. So like from what I have experienced about indie filmmaking in Assam, like I am pretty much hopeful like it will grow to a certain extent, and I by next 2 3 years, and it's still growing. It's on the urge of growing. So like I think by next 5 years, you're gonna see a lot of indie movies coming up and packed with audiences in theaters. So if the pandemic gets over by then, so you're gonna expect a lot of audiences in theaters, basically for indie films in Assam. So I'm pretty much positive about it.
But with the pandemic happening, people have resorted to OTTs and all right now, and already indie cinema was not getting a lot of theater space. Do you think
Hmm.
like it will be easier for indie films to make it to the theaters post the pandemic, because they were already very intimate cinema made to be watched on laptops? Usually, a lot of people also say that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So like yeah, I pretty much got to know like people are into OTT, more into OTTs right now because of the situation,
Yeah.
current situation. So but I've also got people like who are pretty much interested and are very urged to go to theaters and all. Like they're pretty much
Yes.
waiting for theaters to open up. So they are impatient about it. So like they will just get out of their houses and enjoy films in theaters. So I've got this kind of support too from different uh, non filmmakers too. So like I'm pretty much positive about it. So I think the theaters won't die out. It will continue
Definitely.
and it will
Yeah.
grow within a span of time. It will take time, but it will take time. But in next 3 4 years or max 5 years, it will grow.
Hmm. True, true, true.
Yep.
What do you think about the Assamese new wave which has come? I see it as a new wave for Assamese cinema with the coming of directors like Rima Das and Bhaskar Hazarika, and the kind of
Yeah.
films they have made. What are your thoughts on this? And also, do we have a large subtitle reading audience in India that who would want to watch Assamese films? And what are your thoughts on all that?
Mhm. So like basically like people are in people are into world cinema right now. So because of the OTT also help actually to let people experience different films, right, of and of different countries. So and since the subtitle to came through, like it has become an important factor too for people, like because people are getting to know, like after reading the subtitle you get to know the scene, you get to know the shot. So like that's how people are getting used to subtitles. So like I have found people like they're they are into world cinema right now. They watch films of different languages, so different tradition, and also they are pretty much urged to learn about the different tribes, the different castes that people are living in different world. So that's how my thoughts are. That's how my I got my experience. So like pretty much in Assam too, like if you see, like people are, yeah. So like Assamese people are bought into national media right now. So like big shots like Rima and Bhaskar Hazarika, like Amis was also a great film to watch.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Anurag Kashyap
So
presented it, and it's
yep,
very good.
Anurag Kashyap presented it. So like how did it help? Obviously through subtitles,
Yeah.
obviously through visuals. Like people are pretty much interested to see the Northeast India, how we are living, how we are growing. So the different diverse tribes of Northeast. So we should be able to bring up more stories, more of our stories through through this art form. So I'm pretty much positive, and I'm pretty much will try to make some big one day, something big one day. So I'll bring out the story of our regional. So that's how I'm into it right now. That's how I'm into filmmaking actually. Yeah.
That's very nice. I'm looking forward to actually working with you, man. Why just looking forward to watching your films? I want to work with you,
Yeah.
and I think people. I'm really hopeful of Assamese new wave and Assamese cinema, which is now coming out right now, and it's going to come out. And I hope we can also have a great name like Malayalam cinema, which
Yeah.
has made a great name for itself. And amazing people, amazing filmmakers, amazing actors, people we
Mhm.
should look up to. And I'm sure Northeast is doing a great job too.
Great
And
job. Yeah.
now let's talk a little bit about Indian cinema in general. What I always think about this, that what should be the language of Indian cinema? Because you have
Mhm.
studied in FTII, must have watched a lot of films from around the world, from different countries. What happens
Yes.
is like usually a certain treatment style of cinema is associated with a certain country. Italian cinema has given us neorealism. Bicycle Thieves has given us
Yeah.
neorealism, which people follow. French
Yeah.
cinema has given us new wave,
Mhm.
with a lot of certain new elements of filmmaking and different experiments they did, and which a lot of people are following now. So
Mhm.
Iranian cinema has given us minimalism, which is evident
Yeah.
in Rima Das's films also. But what
Yeah.
is the language of Indian cinema? It is mixed up right now, which I see. The homegrown Indian cinema's language is the musical, where we see song and dance, and that is how Indian cinema is usually identified to be. But
Mhm.
there is a parallel cinema also, which is influenced by many filmmaking movements from around the world, and there are many kinds of cinema. So, what do you think should we work towards having a uniform identity for Indian cinema, or is
Mhm.
it always going to be a mixed thing?
Uh, for me,
Yeah.
working rather than rather than working on an uniform cinema, like India is diverse, right? So
Yes.
we work and we have a different culture in every state. We have a different tradition in every state. So
Yeah.
like which people follow according to their interests.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, like the one you told, uniform or mixed, right?
Yeah, yeah. What do you think? Like,
Okay.
if you want to think around these lines, that our cinema is about song and dance, right? That's what we actually grew up seeing, watching. Why do we? Why are we shying away from it today? Like, why do we not? We are People are so anti Bollywood right now. So many people. The audiences are anti Bollywood. Bollywood is bad and this and that. But can't we have a really well made musical, the song and dance Hindi film? Can't it be made in a certain way that it is mature also and it is at par with a great film, any great film coming from any part of the world?
Okay, so like, yeah, what I totally support your point of view of like it's like even if there's a song in a film, like I totally
Yeah.
support it if it's meaningful, if it has a narrative, if it has a motivation to the narrative, if it has something to it, I'll always support a song in a film. So, but if you add a certain song like which doesn't add up to the story or which just for the sake of entertainment, like it doesn't have any motivation to it, it doesn't have a motivation to it, like I kind of
True.
don't support it, don't
Like an
support
item
support,
song.
yeah, yeah, like the item song, yeah, which we like Sheila Ki Jawani or something like so if it doesn't have a motivation, like I won't support it actually. So depending on the narrative, depending, suppose you take uh, a film can be without a song too, right? If it's supporting the narrative, it can be based on the design itself. So it's not important that we need to have an item song in a film or something. But it's for the same reason, like if you have a meaningful song to it, I will totally support a song in a film, in a Bollywood film or an indie film. So it's pretty much normal for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think. Also, I think we should like I think there could be a certain way to make a film, uh,
Mm.
retaining songs also, not making it very frivolous. Like usually what
Mm.
happens, the song just breaks out and people start
Mm.
dancing, but it could be made in better
Yeah.
ways too. So what are your thoughts on, like, in Indian cinemas representation internationally? Uh, what all should be done towards making it uh, bigger?
Mm.
And having worked with Rima Das, who has gained so much international fame at Toronto and so many other film festivals, what are your thoughts on the film festival thing, the circuit?
Huh. So, like parallel films in India have played a very important role, and it has changed the era of Indian filmmaking. So, like I would always support filmmakers like Rima Das. So, like they changed the era of the film. Actually, the style of making a film, they brought out a certain narrative which was pretty important, which was not really uh, talked about for so many years, like the flood in Assam. It's a very typical topic, but people didn't talk about it. People didn't bring out and visually, right? So, like for that, I will always support people like Rimadas who always plays with something that, yeah, something important that has to be brought out, right? And for people to know, yeah, the unknown stories from Assam or from any northeastern states or any other filmmakers from any states who can bring out some parallel stories other than the typical Bollywood entertainment movies, like which becomes a laughing stock, even which becomes a laughing stock actually for the viewers internationally. So, like this kind of film should be brought out and should be uh, like
Yeah, celebrated.
yeah, celebrated actually internationally.
Yeah, I
That's what
completely
I
agree.
think. Yeah.
Like growing up in Assam, we have seen floods so frequently during the monsoons, and also there is one more thing which happens a lot in Assam is protests for banning something, right? We ban this and ban that, and when that scene which we see in Village Rockstars where the kids are protesting against the floods and they are shouting slogans like "ban the floods, ban the
Yeah.
floods." That's
Mm.
funny and political and so relatable all at the same time. That's a brilliant
Yeah.
scene, is what I feel. Uh, ban the floods, and
Yeah.
also in Bulbul Can Sing, where the portrayal of the guy, I forgot his name. I think Sumon. I don't know. Yeah. So we have always seen that like we have seen people teasing people around their sexualities, and that portrayal has come out so beautifully in that film. So
Yeah.
I really think we need such sensitive portrayals and of realities from Assam and Northeast. And
Yeah.
now, tell me, like, I haven't asked you this, like, when you decided to get into filmmaking, what was the reaction from your friends and family? What was the conversation you had? And what is the general attitude towards indie filmmaking from the normal public in Assam and your friends and family? How
Oh,
do they understand? Do they understand indie filmmaking and what it is about?
so since from my family, my mother was into music,
Mm-hmm.
so she was pretty much interested in films too. Like she used to tell me, like one
Hmm.
day we're gonna make this and that. So
Oh,
we'll
amazing.
bring out, yeah, we'll try to bring out our culture, our own stories that has been hidden for so many years. So like, yeah, from that I got some energy, a positive energy from her. So that's how I decided to pursue with filmmaking. But my father was a bit hesitant. So like he was like, after doing engineering, why are you changing the subject? Like you should, since you are a biomedical engineer, so you should work in some medical fields or some in medical companies or like in some hospitals and all. So why are you changing the subject? I was like, it's my kind of interest, which I grew up. I grew up from a place, or like I grew up from the kind of people who told me so many stories. Like I couldn't get it out of my head, so I had to tell someone or the other. So how can I tell a bigger audience? So I felt like this is an important field for me to like bring out my story, my own story, which has been hidden for so many years, and this is the right platform like, which I felt I should bring out. So that's how my family kind of supported. Was a bit hesitant, but they kind of supported me. So about my friends, like when they heard about me doing filmmaking, they weren't much aware about it. So people like us, after completing engineering, got into jobs, got into some trial or something. So some, because some didn't get a job, got tensed about their own life, so they forgot about it. So when they saw me with Rima working for a film, they were like kind of surprised. Are, how come you went to this field? You were a different person
Yeah,
back then.
I
So
was
they were
one
pretty
of
much
them.
surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was also surprised, like kind of when I saw you in Girliappa. I was like, how
Oh.
come this fellow went there? Like I couldn't believe it. Actually, I just watched it twice, and then
Hmm.
like, yeah, it's him. It's really him. I felt so proud. Like, okay, I have a friend right now, a friend whom I missed for so many years, and like he's into my own industry right now.
Yeah, I get the feeling. Yes,
Yeah.
totally.
And
And
we should do something big someday.
totally. I was just like how your mother is supportive towards this field. My mother is
Okay.
also like into other arts. Like she is a writer. She has written books in Assamese. She is Assamese, so she writes in Assamese and teaches in
Okay.
Assamese. Uh, so she was always supportive towards me working towards doing something in the film industry. And now when I went back this pandemic, So I started watching a lot of films with her. And now we are big fans of Abbas Kiarostami, Jafar Panahi, Asghar Farhadi.
Oh
Like
my God.
me and my mom keep having conversations like Panahi has made this and that. So
Oh,
so like
okay.
I have told her about you and she was like so amazing. You should work with your friends and you guys should do something and it's amazing. Like so yeah, it's a very different
Yeah,
feeling. It's
pretty much looking forward to it in future.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
very good.
definitely. Tell me a little bit about the cinema film that you want to make. Like, are you writing it and mm, when do you
Uh,
plan to make it? Could you
yeah.
tell me a little bit?
So, like my idea, so like I'm pretty much into script analysis now. So
Hmm.
I just have an idea about some folk tales and some history which I
Hmm.
have researched about it. So it's based on Boro culture since I belong from Boro tribe. So
Yeah.
I'm pretty much interested to bring out stories, different stories from my tribe.
Hmm.
So since I have lots of them, so I'm trying to choose the best one out of it. So I'm still on process. So I
Hmm.
still will take some time to bring
Hmm.
out my final idea, and
Huh.
I'll surely share with you once I'm done with it.
Definitely.
Yep.
Definitely. Definitely. Cool. We have come towards the end, and before we end, could you just give us some recommendations of films and filmmakers that have inspired you? If you could share some with us, which
Yeah.
some films that everyone should watch.
So, like, I started watching Asian films like Ozu.
Ozu,
So, yeah,
Yasujiro
Ozu is
Ozu,
my favorite filmmaker, I would say. So,
amazing.
I learned many things from Ozu. Like,
Hmm.
for example, if I tell you visually the low angle shots, which
Huh.
looks pretty much interesting.
Huh.
So like it tells about the Japanese culture. Like people used to sit on
Hmm.
floors while
Hmm.
eating something or discussing something.
Hmm.
So that's
And
how I got introduced. Yeah, and the characters and all. It's quite
very
the
simple,
style of acting
minimal.
is very
Yeah.
different from other films, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So the style of the characters, it's pretty much interesting to watch them. And like
Yeah.
my favorite film is Tokyo Story.
Acha, I haven't
So
seen that. I've seen Late
uh,
Spring and The Only
okay, Late
Sun.
Spring, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And what about autumn? Early autumn.
No, not even that. I've seen a few Mizoguchi movies though, like seen four or
Okay.
five Mizoguchi movies. Yeah, I'm yet to explore Ozu more, but yeah, I loved Late
Okay.
Spring. Very peaceful and
Okay.
sweet. It's a very
Mm-hmm.
different feeling. It's very sweet and peaceful. Such lovely characters. It's so beautiful,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of stay with the shots. Yeah, you need a lot of patience though to watch Ozu
Correct. Correct.
films.
We always
Hmm.
need the patience with Ozu films.
Yeah, and Abbas
So
Kiarostami is influenced from Ozu a
yeah,
lot.
Abbas Kiarostami.
Hmm.
So and then like Asgard filmmakers like Asgard has and Bong Joon-ho,
Yeah.
like Memories of Murder,
Hmm.
and then Okja, and then the Parasite finally, which won
Hmm. Yeah.
the Oscar. So and like Japanese films like the filmmaker like Father Like Son. Have you watched it?
No, not yet.
And Shoplifters.
I was about to watch it, but I haven't. Yes, it's in my list. I'm going to watch it.
Yeah, you should watch it. So it's pretty interesting. I just forgot the name of the director. Uh, I just
Of
recall.
Shoplifters.
Yeah, of Shoplifters.
Yeah, even I'm not aware.
Yeah. Um. So you should watch all of them. So I'll
Hmm.
recommend that film. Since I'm from Asia, so I will recommend Asian films more.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you explored Apichatpong, where it's set to cool, if that's the correct pronunciation? I don't know. The Thai filmmaker. Uh,
Uh, can you tell the
wa-
name of the film, of his film? Any film?
there is one which won the Palme d'Or called Uncle Bunmi Who Can Recall Past
Okay.
Lives.
Ha ha ha. It's pretty interesting actually. I've watched it. I just couldn't recall the director's name, that's
Haha.
why.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. And what about Wong Kar Wai, Hong Kong cinema?
Wong Kar Wai, yeah.
Huh.
You made a good choice. Wong Kar Wai. The most popular film.
In the mood for love.
In the mood for love, correct. So, like, it brings out the mood, right? The kind of mood which you need to feel the film. Like, it makes you just go through deep. So, that's how Wong Kar-wai plays with characters. It's pretty much subtle with all the moods that go through.
Totally,
So,
it's
I
a
basically
different
like that character arc.
twist.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
Okay. So,
Any more recommendation? Any last one? Just one film
okay.
that you think people should watch?
Okay.
Could
So,
be Indian also. It's okay. Indian films
okay.
are also
Definitely.
Asian films.
Like Satyajit Ray's film, people can watch Satyajit Ray's film, like
Yeah.
Pathar Panchali,
Hmm.
and like I will recommend one film from Assam. Then filmmaker like Janu Borua, Hello
Yeah,
Dear.
Janubur.
People should watch that.
Hello,
So
Dia
it's a very
Sarai,
beautiful film.
Bauthan Khai.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's a very beautiful film, and
Yeah.
like films like Kothanodi, where Adil Hussain has played an important role. So
Kotha Nodi is
Kothanodi
also a
can,
good film.
yeah. So I would recommend all of that.
I hope these films are easily available because I'm not sure where Janu Barua's film Halaudia Sarai Baudhan Khai would be available.
You
But
can check
these
it.
films should be available.
Yeah.
People should
Yeah.
make way for
Mhm.
such films.
Yep.
Okay, cool then. Thank you for joining me on this podcast, and this is one of this was a very different podcast for me, very special one, and we had a lovely conversation.
Yep.
It's
And thank you for
lovely talking
hearing
to
me out.
you,
Yep.
and I'm looking forward to meeting you, working with you in the
Yep.
future.
I'm also pretty much positive about it. We'll meet and we'll talk about it.
Very, very true. Very well. We will do that.
Yeah.
All the
Okay.
best with your work, all the films
Thank you.
that are releasing, and the film you're trying to ideate right now. All the
Hmm.
best with all that. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Take
Okay.
care.
Take care.
Bye.
Okay. Bye bye.